Hi everyone, this is Clara with Card Stamping with Clara. Back this week with some more Christmas cards. If you've got a lot of Christmas cards to make, it's always a good idea to get started early. And I hope that you'll be able to get started early, and then maybe you won't be rushed so much come Christmas time. At least that's what I'm trying to do. I'd like to bring to your attention that I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I have a website, Card Stampin' with Clara, and you can get all the information about my cards and the directions as to how to make the featured card, as well as a supply list that you can print out and what have you, that's got all the measurements and everything on it on my website. So if you would like to investigate what it takes to make this card after you see it, sometimes it's hard to remember every little detail. I've got it all written out for you. I also have a host code that if you should need to purchase something, if you'd please use that code, I'd appreciate it. It will be good for the month of September, and you can use it up to $150. If you purchase at least $150 before postage and handling, then you can get $15 worth of free merchandise from Stampin' Up! So you don't want to lose that benefit. So if it's under $150, use the host code. If it's as much as $150 before postage and handling, do not use the code. Now then, the other thing is, if you would please push that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it because that helps me. And I guess for right now, I might mention that the paper, some of the DSP is on sale. You buy 3 packs, you get 1 free. You might check that out on my website. And there's lots of things on the clearance rack right now that are of a good value and would come in handy to have in your stash of card making supplies. Okay, this is the card we're going to make today. And it's a Christmas card, of course. It's got a nice little bulb on the front of it with some holly. And then on the inside it says, "May the beauty of the season fill your heart with joy." So we'll lay this down right here. I'm going to show you what we're going to use to make this card, and then I will show you these other cards. I used what is called the Christmas Gleaming Bundle. And the reason it is a bundle is it comes as a package unit with 2 bulbs. You can buy them separate if you choose. It's got 2 beautiful designs that you can stamp out on the 2 big bulbs, plus 1 for the small one. It's got a couple of sentiments: "Deck the halls with boughs of holly and be jolly this season," and then there's "Merry Christmas." It's a nice rubber set that will last a long time and do a very nice job. So I really like these. So this is the stamp set, and then these 2 punches. This is the one for the larger bulb, and this is the one for the smaller bulb, and they come as a unit in a package. So you just stamp your bulbs, and you can pop them right out, and you're ready to go. So I'm going to set these over. I also used this "Merry Christmas to All" for my sentiment on the inside. I used this sentiment on the inside for all of them, as well as those 2 little holly branches. And this has got lots of words and lots of Christmas things that you could, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you want to say. This is a photopolymer, but it works quite well. And I got this last year, but you can still get it this year. And if you're interested, it also has the dies that come with it. I won't be using any of those tonight, though. And one other thing that I'm using is this, what is called a stitched nested labels die. And I believe this second one from the outside is the one I used for the Christmas card that we're making tonight. It makes a real pretty design around the ornament. So I use that one. And I'm going to show you real quick the paper that I'm using that comes with this, it's called Brightly Gleaming Specialty Designer's Paper. You've seen me use some of it before. Like I think I used this holly one in mossy green at one point in time. But we're going to be using the striped as well as this one that's got bulbs on it. So as you can see, this paper is absolutely gorgeous. And you can use it in lots of different ways for Christmas paper. And I just wanted you to see the whole array of things that, that come. I hope I've got it where you can see it good. Okay. All right. Now then, we're going to go to the second card that I made this week out of this set. This one has got both a small bulb and two of the smaller ones. A large one and two of the smaller ones. Excuse me. And I decided to cut these out of some of that paper that was so pretty. I also, this Proud as a Peacock foil paper, I cut a strip of that, and I stamped the Merry Christmas from that second set of stamps that I showed you. And I had some sparkling copper paper from last year, and it just matched so perfectly that I decided to do one with that. I know you can't get that right now, but what you can use is you can use copper foil that should be available, and then it would match the ribbon and what have you. So I did this one with the copper, and on the inside I stamped it in the same colors and with the two little holly leaves down at the bottom. So that's one option, or a second option, I should say. This one I embossed in gold, and I just used the tiny little bulb. Let's see if I can get this open. And all I did was put little bulbs all over it. I like red, so I used the real red cardstock. Put that underneath as a layer. This one, this cutout came from a former set. It's left me right now, but anyway, you can cut this out and put your Merry Christmas on anything you have. You don't have to have a particular design here. As you can see, you got a pretty good space. So whatever you have. I tied a gold ribbon around it, which was some that I just happened to have in my stash. Put some red rhinestones on it that you can get from Stampin' Up. And then I put the same sentiment on the inside. Stamping the sentiment in real red. And this is shaded spruce for the holly leaves. So that was another one. This was actually the first one that I tried out with this set. And I liked it as well as any that I made. I stamped it in real red. I used the shaded spruce green. And I colored those with shaded spruce and with the real red for the holly berries. Stamped the Merry Christmas with the shaded spruce. And then on the inside, I just stamped everything in the shaded spruce. So that's how I did that one. It's very simple and very easy to make, and I think it turned out real pretty. This one's got a little bit more work to it. This is another pretty piece of that paper from that same set. I used a piece of it, and I also had the had a little piece of these. This is very vanilla cardstock that I had run through the put in an embossing folder and run through my die cutting machine. So it's got a little swirly background there. I also used some copper foil. This is what I was talking about. You can use copper foil instead of the sparkly copper that I used on that last card, or the card before. And it still gives it a very nice look. It matches perfectly, so this works equally as well. I have used, the Pretty Peacock cardstock on this one. And I went ahead and used the Pretty Peacock for the leaves of that. And then I took just a hole puncher that I had and cut out 4 little red circles for the holly berries and glued them down and kind of highlighted those areas within the leaf, and there you go. So same thing on the inside, and but I just made this a kind of a layering thing with the oval layering dies. So that was another option. This one I used that same triple banner punch, and I cut out this banner. After I stamped this pretty blueberry bushel bulb, and I also embossed that using clear embossing powder. I tied a real red ribbon on it and colored in the holly and the little berries that I had stamped on a piece of Whisper White. Looks like I need to put another little dot, glue dot. Yeah, there we go. And down here I just put Merry Christmas and put a real red background, and the blueberry bushel is a background color here too. So the inside is real red with the shaded spruce there again. This one was a little bit different. It was a die from the Wild Rose set, and I just embossed decked the halls with boughs of holly in white. Then I put 2 sprigs of the holly around this. I used the eyelet embossing folder to get this background. I think you'll probably be able to see that texture. It makes a pretty texture in behind. And there again, I just used the same sentiment on the inside. I like that sentiment, and I got it set up, and I just decided to put it in all of them. This one is similar to the one we're doing tonight. As you can see, I'll lay them side by side. I used this paper and the stripe paper, and then I used this embossing, like I said, that I used on the other card. I used a piece of very vanilla, and took a strip of that paper that I had run through the machine in that swirly, I think it's called Swirls and Curls, excuse me, embossing folder. And this bulb is also embossed with the clear embossing powder again. It's, you know, it's nothing like Christmas, but if you don't put a little shine with it, I think you've got to have a little glitter and a little sparkle, and you know, to make it feel like Christmas. This one is done in the Night of Navy, and then we've got Mossy Meadow for the colors here to match this paper, which has got Mossy Meadow in it. So those are the cards for this week, and we're going to put this card together. And I've got my trusty little packet here again, and I'll show you a couple of options as we go along. Something I did 2 things of holly, and I wanted you to be able to see the difference. You know, and there's really not a lot of difference, but let's talk about what we need as far as the paper. You're going to need a sheet of very vanilla. It's going to be 5.5 inches by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. That's your card base. Then you're going to need 2 pieces of the Mossy Meadow. This is going to be cut at 4 by 5 1/4. One piece is for the outside and one's for the inside. Then you need a piece of very vanilla that I went ahead and stamped because you know, it's not that difficult to stamp. So I just went ahead and did that to save time, so that you could see without me, you know, eating up all of your time. And that will go on the inside. Then this pretty piece of stripe, which I really like. And on the other side, it's got this shiny copper and navy design, as you can see. So I'm going to use the stripe though tonight, and then I'm going to use this really pretty piece of, well, it's got the shine on it too. I don't, you know, it's not foil, but it's got a foil-like touch to it. So I don't know how you would describe that kind of paper, but you can see that this is shiny, this is shiny, there's little shiny pieces in here. So, you know, it just makes it look like Christmas. And that will go on the front, and then this piece will go on top with the holly on it. So we'll lay this over, and we'll talk about each piece as we get to it. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this stripe piece to the Mossy Meadow. Remember, this is from the Gleaming, I'm sorry, the Brightly Gleaming Designer's paper, and I just dropped something off here from the side. I apologize. Okay. I don't know why I always want to leave off that Brightly Gleaming, but that's what it is. So we're going to put a little glue using the Tombow glue, the multi-purpose glue, put it on the back. And then we will, this is cut so that you'll have a little border around it. I hope I can get this on here straight tonight. If that's all right. I think this is a real pretty stripe. It's got the pretty peacock color, and it's got navy in it, and it's got Mossy Meadow, and it's all on kind of this very vanilla background, so it makes it really pretty. Okay, this is the next piece, and it is going to be 1 3/4 by 5 inches. And we're going to go ahead and glue that part on. And I decided to leave just a little bit of this showing. It's up to you. I just lined it up with that stripe there. That seems to work real well. Okay. All right. Now, in the instructions, I've got that you need a like 3 by 4 inch piece of very vanilla cardstock to stamp this on. And if you don't know that you can do this, it's a really nice trick to be able to have an embossed look on any color of ink. You know, we have the silver and the gold and black and some different colors of the embossing powder, but no Mossy Meadow. And I decided I wanted Mossy Meadow for this particular one. I've used lots of other colors on the other cards. But all you do is put this on your Stamparatus. And I'm going to kind of give you an idea here, because for those that may not know, just basically, I'm going to use a scrap piece of paper here. Say this is your piece this is your piece of very vanilla. You position this where you want it, and then you lay your stamp right on top of it. And then once you've got it positioned in the center, so you know that you've got enough room to make this balanced when you cut it out with the die. You got to have, you know, some space on both sides. Then you go ahead and you stamp it in the Mossy Meadow first. And I don't know that this is necessary, but before I stamp it even the first time, I use this little embossing buddy, and that way I'm sure I'm getting the static. off so that the embossing will look pretty when I get finished. And what you may want to do is just go like that and blow away the excess. But what you do is you just take this stamp, whatever stamp you choose to use, and like I said, you space it, and then it'll pick it right up like this. And of course you need to put your magnets on so it'll hold it in place. Like I said, this is just kind of a quick to show people that don't know how to, that may not have not used the embossing powder. But once you stamp the Mossy Meta on and you let it dry, it won't take but a second. I do the same thing again just to make sure I haven't got any more, don't have any static on it. I blow it off again. And this time I use the Versamark ink on this. And by using your Stamparatus, what it does is it comes down exactly over the image that you have just stamped out of Mossy Meta. And that way, when you get your shine, it's going to be perfect. That's why the Stamparatus is so nice for that. So once you put your Versamark ink on and you sprinkle on your embossing powder, which is going to be clear in this case so that you can see the green underneath, then use your heat gun, go over it, it melts it away, and just don't stay too long in one place, because if you stay too long in one place, inevitably what happens is you can scorch that piece of paper, and it'll ruin it if you do. So once you start seeing this melt, just move right on to a place that's not melted. So I say all that to, to say that that is how you get this pretty shiny look for something for Christmas. And it's a real nice technique that is easy to do. And you first think about that and you just think, oh, it's not easy to do, but it is. It's real easy to do. As far as drawing this in, I wouldn't even bother. I did draw it in on mine when I fixed this, but what I realized is that when I put my holly over it, it's just not going to matter. So don't even bother to put that on. All right, now then, we'll lay that over to the side, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this on. And we're going to glue it on before we put that piece on so that it doesn't get in our way. It just adds a little bit more bulk to try to get centered. So it's not a big deal. It's just got a little piece of glue here that's apparently clogging my glue. Well, let me see. Here we go. Maybe I was just not squeezing quite hard enough. All right, now then, I'm going to take this out and put it right here on the front. There again, you try to get your margins as even as you can. I believe that will be okay. All right. And remember, you can put as much or as little on these cards as you want to. It's just up to you, whatever you enjoy doing. I've already put Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of this to save time for you. And we'll take the protective covers off. And one of these little tools is the easiest way to get them off in a hurry. All right. I seem to be totally clumsy here tonight. I apologize. I don't know what I'm having so much trouble, but I seem to be. All right. Now then, I am placing this basically about, leaving about the same amount at the top as the bottom. Might be a little bit less at the top than at the bottom. And I'm lining it up over the line. I'm putting these little pointed areas right where that other piece of paper joins or lays on top of the stripe piece. And that way it helps you to keep it straight and it makes it look nice. Now then, we'll put the holly on. And this is totally up to you, and I don't know that there's enough difference for it to even matter. But what I did with this one, this is a piece of holly that I stamped in Mossy Meadow. And I stamped it onto Mossy Meadow cardstock. Then I took my little hole punch and I popped out 3 of the real red circles and put little dots on them. And I took my water marker of Mossy Meadow and went over the lines to make them stand out a little bit more. So that's one way you can do it. The other way you can do it, and it just depends on how much you want to spend, as far as maybe you don't want to buy blends and you've got the paper already and you can just make it out of that. Or you can take a piece of, this was white, very whisper white paper, and I stamped this in the Memento Tuxedo Black. Then I took my blends, I took the Mossy Meadow color, the dark one, and I colored that in. And I took the real red marker and I colored that in. So it's up to you. It just depends what you got to work with. But one is cut out of Mossy Meadow cardstock. One is cut out of very vanilla and colored. And it's just a matter of what you like. But there's different ways to do what you've got to do. So I'm going to take this and put it on. Sometimes I like to give people different options if I can, because, you know, if you got a little piece of Mossy Meadow, which you're going to need anyway, and maybe you've bought some real red, or you've got a little scrap of bright red, you don't have to have the blend markers. And if you have them already, you might prefer to do it this way. It's just, like I said, it's just a matter of personal preference. So what I did is I positioned it just tight, right at the top of that hook on the Christmas ball to make it look pretty. All right, that's all done. And the reason, and part of the reason, let me put it that way, not the entire reason. Part of the reason that all of these have the same sentiment in it is, number one, I like the sentiment. And I may send some of these as Christmas cards. And the other thing is that once you get a stamp set up on your Stamparatus, then you can do several a lot faster of the same kind than you can doing different sentiments and having to reposition your stamp each time, because it's a different stamp and you have to position it so it's going to be straight on your cardstock. And I always use a scrap piece of something and get it where I want it before I start stamping my good cardstock. So I'll press that down a little bit. But that makes, I mean, you know, with the border and the Mossy Meadow color, I just thought it looked real pretty together and looked a lot like Christmas. All right, we're going to take this. And if I ever forget to give you the proper name, sometimes I'll forget and say green or red when I should be saying, in this case, real red and mossy green, because there are different colors of green that Stampin' Up! Has. So if I ever forget, you can always look on my website, and I'll have all that information down. And if I have said something backwards or wrong or what have you, and I catch myself, I will correct it on the written instructions. So, excuse me. Okay. So that is in there. I think that looks pretty good. And here's the outside. And there you go. All finished. And you might notice that these particular bulbs, one looks maybe a little bit darker than the other. And depending on how you space it, this one's a little lower than this one. But they look equally nice, I think. So it's just, you know, no two cards are going to be identical, but hopefully they will still look very nice and be what you want when you get done in the end. So that's our card for this week. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. I thank you for your time. I realize that everybody is busy this day and time. It is not, it's not easy to find the time to sit down and watch a video. That's why I try to do some of the stamping ahead of time if I can. I keep thinking that I will just get some basic videos put up on my website explaining things like the embossing and what have you, so that you can just have a reference if you need to go to it. It seems like that time is not always available to do that, but I will try to do as much as I can. I hope that you've had a good week. I hope your week ahead will be a good one. The good Lord willing, I will be back in about a week, give or take a day or two. I'm not going to say I'm going to be back on the exact day at the exact time, because inevitably it seems like things beyond my control want to alter that. But I will be back in approximately 1 week to give you another set of cards. And if you do need an item, I would much appreciate your business. Any way that I can help you, I would be more than glad to. And in the meantime, you know, if you have a question, just go to Clara's blog on my website, Stampin' with Clara, and go to you know, comment and, you know, ask me a question or what have you, and I will do my best to get back to you promptly. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And the good Lord bless and keep you this week, and I will see you again next week. Thank you.